May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Near the end of the summer, I had an opportunity to visit Cape Cod for a couple of days of vacation. One of the things I enjoy, which you might not be surprised to hear, is that I love to prowl in independent bookstores. There's a great store in Asheville, North Carolina. If you ever get down there, go to Malaprops. Don't go anywhere else. It's worth the trip. There's another place in Savannah. It's called the Book Lady Bookshop. It's located in an old house, and every time I've been there, the woman sitting at the register is always reading a book. Well, the one I found on Cape Cod was called the Brewster Bookstore. I spent a whole little while talking to the sales lady on duty. She recommended a series of books by a local author, and I bought the book, A Walk on the Beach, Tales of Wisdom from an Unconventional Woman. Well, I kind of finally worked through my list of books and got to this one. Joan Anderson is the author. She writes about her experience of taking leave from her marriage after 20 years. She said, I found myself at a crossroads in my marriage and in my life, and so I ran away to the Cape to spend a year by the sea. Soon after moving into her cottage, and while she was out walking on the beach, she accidentally meets a woman who is much older, Joan Erickson. And from that chance encounter grows a very close personal relationship. Anderson had come away from her marriage. Erickson had moved her husband to a nursing home. Eric is well known for his many books, best known for his developmental stages of personality. Eric and his wife had become quite a team. They worked together on building theory and on refining its various applications. Joan Erickson becomes a mentor to Joan Anderson, and the book details their conversations, the discoveries they make about life. Erickson is adjusting to growing old. She was in her 90s. While they're there, she experiences the death of her husband. She decides that the theory they had developed was not finished, so she wrote another book, The Life Cycle Completed. I got it. It ends in wisdom. She helps her younger friend who at midlife is looking for direction, meaning what do you do after you've raised your children? What was left for her in life? At one point, Erickson tells Anderson that there is a plan for everyone if you're open to it. The book ends with Erickson's death and a quote from Theodore Roethke, "He who loved his life can love his death as well." It's a book about relationships, about courage, about confronting transitions in life, making the most of what you have. Final stage in life for Erickson was one of integrity versus despair. When you come to the end of life, you add it all up. If you've lived fully and well, you will approach death like you've approached life, with expectation. When we look closely at today's gospel, there's a hint of this invitation from Jesus to those who listen to this parable. A closer look at this gospel reveals two stories here, one within the other one that we heard read. There's an obvious story, which is familiar to all of us. We grew up hearing about the story of the talents. One's given 5, one's given 2, one's given 1. The first 2 invest their gift. They put it all at risk. They risk their wealth, and their master is pleased at the increase. The one with the least is so afraid of the master that he buries his gift, and he is sorely punished when he's done nothing with what he was given. We grew up hearing that story, and the standard punchline, to whom much is given, much will be required. But then there's the hidden story, the less obvious. Jesus tells the story as a commentary on the observation of people born with different skills and backgrounds, but the other story is directed at the scribes and the Pharisees. Jesus sees these leaders of the people authorities of the church as being like the servant who received the 1 talent. Those people in position of teaching other people who had access to the history and the Word of God were well known, not for their creativity or for their willingness to risk anything. A new expression of how God works. They were more known for wanting to fence in the law. They created a burdensome system that made it almost impossible to function. The law was not a source of liberation or an expression of the love of God. It was an extensive list of prescriptions of what people could and could not do. Not only were the Israelites under the thumb of the Romans, they were under the heel of the priests of their own religious tradition. Jesus tells this story, and he's looking right at those people. They've taken the gift they had received and buried it. They brought fear and failure to their people. Jesus says with this parable, that is not how God works. God creates us all uniquely. The spirit of creation wants the best for each of us. God asks that we become all that we have been created to become, to have responsibility to see that possibility in other people, asking us to do what we can to help people develop their skills to the highest possible level. There can be no faith without adventure. Jesus lived at a time when religion had become oppressive, when he brought compassion to those people he encountered. We live in a time when much of the world is still oppressed. Women that are not allowed to be educated, you follow the dictates of the religious system or you'll be imprisoned or slaughtered. We hear of daily attempts of groups of people suppressing and destroying one another. We live in a country and a time when religious influence has been kind of shunted to the side. It's everyone for themselves. We're a part of those to whom much has been given. And we want to hold on to as much of it as we can. In telling this parable, I think Jesus was saying, pointing to his belief, that each of us is created uniquely. That's our invitation to invest our gift, to risk it all, knowing we may fail, but with failing comes the knowledge that we took the risk. Erickson says at the end of life, it's integrity versus despair. At every stage, you have to ask, am I becoming the person I was created to be? Am I doing what I need to do? Not what the church tells me, not what society dictates, not what my business or practice would require. Am I taking the risk of becoming all that I am created to become? Or will I come to the end, having run out of time, and living with a sense of despair, to be without hope? Jesus didn't offer any guarantees. The opportunities are given. Each person has to decide to take the risk. It was burying the talent that was the failure. Joan Anderson, Joan Erickson, two women at very different points in their lives discovered their need to step out, to risk building on all that had come before. As I enter this last quarter of my own life, I find the questions are no less intense. Do I step aside and live in the glow of the past, or do I build on that past? Reach down into those experiences of success and of failure to keep looking for the hint of what I was created to become. Jesus reminds us of a creative spirit that breathed into us life, and with that, hope and promise that when we come to the end, we can hear those words, "Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of the Master." Amen. Peace of God that passes all understanding, keep your hearts and your minds in Jesus Christ. Amen.